Hello, figments of my imagination. The holiday season has kept me busy, but I've been spending a lot of that time pondering Stranger Things. I've loved the show from the jump, but stopped watching because of the massive wait times between seasons. But with the show finally wrapping up in a couple of weeks, I fully caught up and I have some theories, so I figured why not talk about them on YouTube, so if I'm right, I can point at the upload date and say I'm a genius, and if I'm wrong, I can say, yeah, but wouldn't have been cool if. It's a win-win. Obviously, spoiler warning for all of Stranger Things. No idea why you wouldn't expect a fan theory video to contain spoilers, but this is your chance to back out, I guess. First, I need to set the known information and how the play fits into everything. For those that don't know, there's a play called Stranger Things First Shadow that covers Henry's origin story and is considered to be canon. The contents of that play raise a lot of questions, the most obvious of which is why is Henry 14 in the play and going to high school when the article from season 4 clearly said he was 12, an age that the actor actually looked? Or how did Henry kill his family in March in the show but in November in the play? Less obvious questions also rise, like why are Ted and Karen so close in age when previous seasons established that Karen married an older man? Why do Bob and Joyce go on a fun little adventure when Bob clearly said Joyce didn't even know who he was in high school? And other little things like that. Personally, I think all of those things are answered by the first part of my theory. While the play is canon, not everything we see in the play is real. I think the entire high school portion was made up by Henry to be what he wishes his life was. He built it with things he observed from people's memories, which explains why Bob and Joyce team up. In reality, they didn't know each other at the time, but when Henry saw them via the Demodogs in season 2, they were together, so his mind kept them that way. What I do think is real from the play is the origin of Henry's powers. In the play, he was transported to Dimension X by coming into contact with a military experiment and stayed there for 12 hours. That's why he's so afraid of that cave in the show, by the way. That's where it happened. When he returned, he was changed. His family relocated to Hawkins after a few years, and a couple of murders later, we're all caught up. So with that in mind, most of my info is going to be taken from the show, as I believe most of the play can be ignored as a sort of red herring. Now, let's talk about birthdays. Apparently, there was a big controversy at the time about Will's birthday being forgotten in the last season, because the camera shows that it's March 22nd. The Duffer Brothers claim it was just a mistake and they forgot about Will's birthday, but I don't buy that for a second. Why? Because Henry Creel's birthday is also March 22nd, exactly 24 years before Will's. And based on the article from the show, we can reasonably assume that the Creel murders took place on March 22nd as well, when Henry was 12. 12 years to the day before Will was born. And how old was Will when he was taken? Well, despite what Joyce says in season 5, Will was indeed 12. For those that missed it, 12 is a very important number for the entire Vecna plot. It revolves around clocks and time, and since 12 numbers are on the face of a clock, the importance kind of writes itself. Speaking of Will's abduction, let's talk about that date. November 6th, 11/6. Anything special about it? What about how it compares to that other hot date we were just talking about, March 22nd, or 3/22? That's right, math nerds, they are inversely proportional. Almost like one is a flipped version of the other, an upside down version, if you will. I'm sure that's relevant, but let's put a pin in it for now. When Will was taken, 11 had just opened the first known gate to the upside down, and here's where things get weird. Most people, myself included, assume the upside down and Dimension X are the same place, but I don't think that's true anymore. Let me explain. Henry got his powers from exposure to Dimension X for 12 hours. The military has a literal base built inside the upside down, and none of them have powers. Hopper's done 37 crawls, and nothing. If the Upside Down and Dimension X were the same, why does no one else gain powers from it? Second, when 11 first fights Henry as a child and shoves him into another dimension, he refers to where he is sent as a new place. He would have recognized Dimension X, and we can assume he remembers it as he's terrified of the memory of the cave where he was sent there. So if the Upside Down isn't Dimension X, then what is it? Well, my theory is that the Upside Down is a sort of in-between dimension, a gateway that links Dimension X and our world. And to better illustrate what I mean, we need only to turn to Mr. Clark in his wormhole lesson. In that sense, the Upside Down would be the throat of the wormhole, sometimes formally called an Einstein-Rosen bridge. And what is episode 7 of this season called? Yep, The Bridge. Okay, so to recap, we've established that Will and Henry have some vague connection via the dates March 22nd and November 6th that likely involves time. Dimension X and the Upside Down are not the same, and wormholes are involved. But what does it mean? Well, I think it all falls back to our good friend, the Mind Flayer. I believe the Mind Flayer is in Dimension X and wants to merge it with our world to take it over. Its goal was clear the entire time. I believe it thinks 11 can connect the Upside Down to Dimension X, which is why in Season 3, possessed Billy tells Elle that they've been building it for her. I think the it in this case is some sort of power focusing or amplification area that would help Elle connect the two worlds completely. And I believe he's now using Henry and Will to get her to do it. Yep, I think Will is still under the Mind Flayer's control. Why? One key phrase from Season 2, Episode 6. While Will is still secretly under the Mind Flayer's control there, he points out an area to Dr. Owens and the scientists and says he doesn't know what's there, but quote, I just know he doesn't want me to see there. The end result of that is a massacre, because Will was still under the Mind Flayer's control and it was a trap. And in the most recent season, after painting his mural in the barn, Will says, I could feel it's important to him. I had this feeling he didn't want me there. I wasn't supposed to see it. Pretty similar, right? And by painting this, when Elle gets out of the Upside Down, or the others inevitably make contact with her, she will go there to attempt to save Holly, which is exactly what the Mind Flayer wants. Also, as a side note, I want to say that I think there might be a chance that Henry is not actually working with the Mind Flayer anymore, and is in fact working against it. In Season 5, Episode 4, Vecna gives a little speech to Will about why he chose children. He also mentions that Will was the first, but he broke so easily. And that's followed by scenes of Will seeing the Mind Flayer. What if Vecna was saying that Will was broken by the Mind Flayer too easily? He goes on to say that some minds simply do not belong in this world, which could also be a hint to the Mind Flayer, who doesn't belong in our world. Now, personally, I don't put too much stock in that idea. It would be a cool twist for sure, but I think they really want Vecna to be the bad guy. That being said, I do stand by Will still being controlled by the Mind Flayer, and I wouldn't be surprised if he betrays the rest of the group before this is all over. As for the children, obviously Henry needs them for something. My guess is he's giving them powers from the children he killed in the Rainbow Room. Remember, he told Elle they weren't gone, they were still with him in his head. I think he plans on essentially imbuing them with the powers of those children, and using that to open the gate for himself, connecting Dimension X and our world, and allowing him to completely reshape our world how he pleases. If he's still working with the Mind Flayer, then he's doing it for it. If not, then the Mind Flayer is using Will to send 11 there to disrupt his plan, but still open the gate for itself. Either way, the end goal remains the same, merge the two dimensions. And that's it. Wow, that was a lot, but I think I covered everything. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. Also, feel free to share your own theories and or poke holes in mine. Do other YouTube stuff if you want, and I'll see you all eventually. But probably next year.